This is Courtney Rushnock. I'm here to interview Graham Codney, and we're going to learn a little bit more about him. Before we get started, Graham, can you tell us about your credentials?
Sure. I'm the technology elementary teacher here at Gillisweet Elementary in Fairview Park. So I oversee the devices. We're one-to-one with iPads, kindergarten through 5th grade, so I help oversee and manage all the devices, as well as push into classrooms to help integrate technology, and students also come to the computer lab to do coding and programming skills.
Perfect, thank you. We're going to dive into a few questions with Graham to learn more about him and his experience here at Gillisweet. The first question is, what are one or two things from your prior experience and or education do you see as being the most relevant and valuable to a leadership position?
Having a leadership position anywhere, but especially in a school, I think is really important that you have clear communication. When you're working with other colleagues or students, it's really important that you not only have a plan in your head, but you've communicated that to all the stakeholders so that everyone has a clear vision of where we are and where we need to head. So before, when I was a classroom teacher, I found that communication was really important with parents and students, and then I applied that into my current role as a technology teacher. So communication is really important. Secondly, relationships. I used to think of myself as a teacher that was really good with relationships when I was in the 4th and 5th grade classroom, and I carried that over as well into the tech role. But this time I needed to have really strong relationships with our staff members. I need to be able to get into classrooms and work with all of the adults in addition to our students, and so having a positive relationship, one in which I can walk into classrooms and have some small talk, is really important in a leadership position.
Perfect. Next question, what do you enjoy most and what do you enjoy least about your particular position?
I think it's probably the same. The thing I like most about my position is that I get to work with all the students, kindergarten through 5th grade. So we have about 700 of those students, in addition to about 40 classroom teachers and other special teachers and stuff. So I like that I get to see a bigger picture, not just my own classroom walls, but get to see a lot of what's happening in the Fairview Park City Schools. That is also a downside. I don't have some control having to work with everybody. When you're in your own classroom, you can just worry about your own issues, and so sometimes that can be a challenge too, working with that many people.
Thank you. The next section focuses on planning and organization. Describe your experience managing multiple long-term projects while meeting immediate demands. And then the second part would be, what strategies do you use when faced with more tasks and then time to do them?
I think the most important thing you can do here is plan. So I work with all the grade levels, kindergarten through 5th grade, so anytime I have multiple projects going on with different grade levels. So I really take the time ahead of time to plan everything out. That being said, you also have to be flexible. Your plan has to be flexible because you're going to need to change. Sometimes you think it's going to work one way and it doesn't. So even though you really plan hard and try to take everything into consideration, you can't. So you have to be flexible. When you have more stuff than you can accomplish in the time, I just take it one thing at a time. I kind of go through and I star or highlight the most important, maybe the power questions, the most essential things that we learn, and I target those, but then I also just try to do one thing at a time, because otherwise if you do too much, you get overwhelmed. So take it one step at a time, I found works.
Perfect. The next section focuses on communication and problem solving. Please describe a situation where you resolved complex issues among groups of individuals, perhaps faculty, in which opposing alternatives were proposed by equally strong supporters. And the second chunk of all that says, can you give me an example of a difficult interaction or conflict you've had with a supervisor or subordinate, and how you might handle a similar situation differently or the same in the future?
Sure. I think one of the most important things you can do is to stay calm. You don't want to be emotional or be defensive if you feel like you're being attacked by a colleague or even a boss. But I found one of the most important things you can do is always make sure you're listening. You have to listen to the other person's concerns and why they're upset. And I found that if you can just take a few minutes to not say anything and look them in the eyes and really show them that you value what they're saying, and if you can listen to them, a lot of times you can hear what their concerns are and work it out from there. An experience I had with this was, with technology, things change often, and so one time we had to get rid of a tool. We were no longer going to have that subscription, and we had some teachers that were really passionate about that particular tool and were upset for why they weren't going to be able to use that tool any longer. So what I did in that situation was I listened to all of their concerns. I took notes about how they utilized that tool, why they wanted that tool. And that when they were done, I was able to then show them how the new tool that we were going to have was also going to offer, if not the same, but similar type features. And then I also explained to them the rationale of why that decision was made. That seems to really help, but I think the most important thing is really, in a leadership role, you have to have a really good set of listening ears.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, moving on to leadership and management, decision making and change. There are quite a few questions, so we'll kind of take it step by step. What has been your experience in affecting organizational change, and how is organizational change most successfully managed?
I think when you are looking at organizational change, you have to have a very clear plan and vision. It's not one of those things that you can just kind of wing it. You need to sit down with stakeholders and you need to plan where you are and where you need to head. And so by having that vision, you can then go backwards and start making a plan of where you are now and how can we get to where we want to get.
Perfect. Kind of feeding off of that, describe your strategy, or describe what your strategy has been for getting to know individuals, their styles, various working relationships, such as students, and then how and when you introduce change to them, staff or students.
Relationship is really important, especially when you're trying to get people to change and do some new things. And so the best way that I have found with this is just to go up and have casual conversations with colleagues. It's one thing to talk about work, it's another thing to be able to talk to them on a personal level, ask them about their family, personal interests, and things like that. I have found that to be really beneficial, trying to make those connections and get into classrooms. If you have a personal working relationship with them, it makes it a little bit easier. So just going up and having small talk with your colleagues is really important.
Perfect. The next part for that is, what has been your approach for bringing individuals on board who may be resistant to change?
That's hard. That has definitely been hard in terms of technology. When I first started in this role 6 years ago, technology has changed a lot, but 6 years ago we still had a lot of staff that did not want to do new technology and things. And so one of the best things that I found with that is to be extremely supportive. Whenever they're ready to try to do something new, I will be there to lend my hands or offer suggestions and advice. So just be really supportive and let them know that failure is okay. They probably will fail. Failure is completely appropriate, and you just got to learn from your mistakes and move forward. So just be there to be supportive for them.
Perfect. One of the last ones, technical competencies. Describe your own technological skills in terms of which digital tools you use, and also ways in which you introduce new technology tools to make your work or the work of others more efficient.
In terms of my own technology skills, I've definitely advanced over the past few years in this role. Before I took over this role, I had no technology experience other than really answering emails as a teacher. I just found that by using technology, I found ways to engage students in learning in ways that they weren't before. So I'm by no means a tech wizard, but I like to consider myself as a problem solver. If I don't know something, I will figure it out, and I model that for our staff and our students. I don't like to pretend that I'm a know-it-all. I tell them I don't know, and I'll get back to them. And so I think that's really important when you're introducing new tools and new strategies to teachers, is to let them know, like, hey, I'm new to this too, and we're going to learn along together, and everything will work out fine. But modeling this philosophy to our staff and students, I think, has been really important to have everybody feel more comfortable.
Perfect. Are there any closing thoughts that you would like to add for grad students who are thinking about adding technology as a minor on their master's?
Yeah, I think in terms of when you're working with technology, again, it's not what tools you can use or how you can utilize the tools. It really comes down to, are you a problem solver? Can you think critically? Are you able to communicate with others? Those types of skills are going to be far more important than what each intricate skill it is that you can do on the computer. So just having a more open mindset of, like I said, being that problem solver and critical thinker and communicator will be beneficial.
Perfect. Well, thank you for watching. Gillis Sweet is very lucky to have our very own Graham Codney here. He has helped me out many, many times. I hope you enjoy watching this video and learning all about what Graham does here at Gillis Sweet. Bye.
Take care.